When I took 8th grade shop class, we were only taught one word for finishing. The teacher would put down his magazine, he'd look over the rims of his glasses at whatever hunk of crap you're trying to pass off as a project, and he'd say, "Good enough, go varnish it." Then you'd go to the varnishing room, you'd slap on a coat of sticky varnish, and the next day you'd take your varnished project home to mother. What is varnish? It's a question I get from viewers all the time. Is it a specific type of finish? What's the difference between varnish and, say, polyurethane? Well, believe it or not, this is a subject that can cause some argument. Try it sometime at your local woodworking guild. Ask folks if they prefer varnish or lacquer. You'll get all sorts of debate about application and drying time, the durability of varnish versus lacquer. Someone will probably say they use polyurethane and he'll get mocked because the old timers used varnish. But the thing is, it's all varnish. Varnish isn't a product. It's a term that refers to covering something with a clear protective coating. It's an ancient word that literally means odorous resin. In modern times, a varnish refers to a resinous finish that's built up on top of a surface. So lacquer, shellac, polyurethane, they're all varnishes. The Egyptians mixed pine sap with turpentine, and that was varnish too. Of course, this is the sort of semantic argument that's just made for the internet. So let's get to the really useful information. Specifically, which types of varnish do you really need to know about before you slap a finish on your next project? Shellac is bug poop. I once had a guy get really angry at me for saying that. "It's not poop," he said. Well, then what is it? A lac insect eats tree sap, then it secretes resin onto the tree where it hardens to become both a home for the bugs and a protective covering for its eggs. I suppose we could argue about whether something that is eaten and then secreted is poop, just like we could argue whether honey is technically bee vomit, but it doesn't really matter. The resin is harvested to make flakes, which are dissolved in alcohol, so they may be applied to wood. It's not a terribly durable or water-resistant finish, but it's easy to apply, it dries quickly, and it can give a project a nice traditional look. It's also easy to repair because new shellac dissolves the old shellac beneath it, which is another reason why it just makes a great finish. Shellac is also safer than many other finishes because it contains no harmful fumes and it won't make your project smell like a chemical factory. I have a whole tutorial video about shellac that you really should check out. I'll put a link below this video. By the way, I have said in past videos that shellac is used as a candy coating, like on M&Ms. Now, technically, they do not use shellac on M&Ms specifically, though there is some debate on whether they may have in the past. However, shellac is considered edible, and it is used as a coating on some food products, including candy, fruit, vegetables, and pills. You have definitely eaten your fair share of bug poop. Sorry, bug excretions. Lacquers are quick-drying, solvent-based finishes. Interestingly, like the word varnish, the term lacquer is often generically applied to pretty much any spray finish. So there isn't just one type of lacquer, there are many with different types of polymers or resins dissolved in a mix of solvents, which is called lacquer thinner. Lacquers are often sprayed on and they dry quickly. So if you're comfortable with spray finishing and you have the right equipment, you may find them really easy to apply. You can build up many layers for a very durable finish that looks great on wood. But lacquers are very flammable, and a proper respirator is a must because they contain high levels of VOCs, which can destroy your liver and your brain. Because of this, many areas are cracking down on their sale and use. I believe the time will come when regular woodworkers like you and I won't be able to buy lacquers anymore, at least not as we know them. The finish industry has been developing acrylic and water-based lacquers, and some of them show promise, but if it's not dissolved by lacquer thinner, can you really call it a lacquer? More semantics, I suppose. At the risk of oversimplifying, polyurethane is plastic in an oil or water-based solvent. Just as with any plastic, there are different grades and qualities. That's why some poly-based finishes are expensive and others are cheap. They're not all created equal. Water-based polys dry more quickly, but they're generally less durable and they tend to look more plasticky because they sit on the surface more than oil-based poly. Oil-based poly penetrates deeper into the wood and it can be rock hard once it's fully cured, especially the good stuff. But unlike shellac or lacquer, polyurethane can't be redissolved with its solvent. So this means one coat of poly will not meld with the coat beneath it if that lower coat is fully cured. After that, you'll have to scuff the old coat with sandpaper so you can achieve a mechanical bond with your new coat. One thing many folks don't know about poly is that it takes about a month to fully cure. Just because you let it dry overnight doesn't mean it's fully hardened. We could talk all day about the pros and cons of polyurethane, but the bottom line is it's very durable, but finicky to apply, and cheaper poly looks terrible. Spar urethane or marine varnish was developed for the shipbuilding industry. They needed something that was water resistant and flexible so it would move with the ship. Nowadays, the name is applied to many finishes that are intended for outdoor use and provide a high level of protection from both water and UV rays. If you're going to put wood out in the rain and the sun, you need a spar urethane, not just regular poly. That said, it isn't going to protect your wood forever. Eventually the sun will eat it up, and like polyurethane, you can't just throw a fresh coat on without sanding to create a mechanical bond between the old and the new finish. These are the most common varnishes used in workshops today.